Let's talk about Straightaway 2.0, the newest and most badass straightaway on the planet right now. The new straightaway has gate spacing notches in it. That's what these are. This allows you to bump this against a set post. This will allow you to set your gate opening at a 4-foot, a 5-foot, or a 6-foot opening. Have a positive stop to keep your spacing exactly set at 4-foot, 5-foot, or 6-foot. It also has been cut down to 95 inches, so for those of you guys using a 5-inch post on a vinyl fence on 8-foot centers, this will fit right between the post. You notch it against your first vinyl post, it sits right there. This will be exactly 91 inches inside to inside, which gives you your 96 on center. So very versatile tool. Of course, it has the shadow box spacing on it. The color indicators on here. You line up the colors that match up with the pickets on either side, right and left. If it matches closest up to the red, you run all the reds. If it matches the blue, you run all the blues. It also has your markings on there for marking your post for different styles of fence. We also made the indicators for the rail fencing marks for rails on dogwood fence with a 7-inch reveal. Very easy to see. We've got the rail mark 27, 54, and ground mark at 66. Some guys ask me oftentimes, what are the notches on top for? You have a shallow cut notch and you have a deeper cut notch in the top of this thing. The shallow cut notch is for 5.5-inch pickets on a 2-inch space. So you would line up the same side of picket to same side of picket. So if your first picket lines up with a short notch on the right, then your next picket would be lined up with a short notch on the right, and continue the process, and you get a 2-inch space. If you want to do shadow box fencing, board on board, the deep notch lines up with the picket on the right, and then that gives you an indicator for the next picket on the right side, on the right side, on the right side, and then that gives you a 3.5-inch space for all your pickets on a 5.5-inch picket. With a 6-inch wide picket, you'll be left with about a 3-inch space, not a 3.5. We did make another change. It's now 1.5 inches wide at the top. So that'll allow for 2 pickets for board on board to fit inside there. It also allows the user to be able to see up inside this cavity easier while they're running pickets. Comparatively to the old version, which was right here. So this only had 3/4 of an inch up here, just enough to fit your picket, and then had 3/4 bend, another bend. The problem with that is sometimes the guys couldn't see up inside that rail if the picket was making good contact. So by having this opened up, we have now accomplished 2 things. One, we can do board on board with 1 straightaway. We don't need 2 versions. And that second lip has been removed, so it's a lot easier to see up inside there. However, for a privacy fence like today, not board on board, we gotta have this chain link bolt installed. And we use a chain link bolt for a reason, so when you lose it, you probably have another one on the truck, put back in that hole. But this is going to create a gap between the back of the picket and the straightaway, which would mimic the spacing of another picket, of a double picket like a board on board. The other thing you gotta do is double up your cheater picket. Here's what we call a cheater picket. Traditionally, this would be 1 picket thick with a 2x4 block, but with the new Straightaway 2.0, that does not work. We need a double thickness on it so that fills that entire cavity up inside that straightaway to prevent that straightaway from flipping back and forth. So a double picket. The other key thing to remember on this cheater picket is we want it to hang down below this mid rail so that it doesn't flip out. If this isn't long enough, this will fall out off the top rail. So this should cover a post every time. Don't ever go past the post. So if I start my pickets there running this direction, this should never go here. It has to go either on the post or to the right of the post. It cannot cross that seam, because that seam is where the fence will break directions at always. And so if we exceed that, then we're gonna break a direction on our pickets at a different spot than the rails are. So the goal is we're trying to make sure the top of our pickets are perfectly parallel or follow the contour of the top rail of the fence, which should be nice and straight or smooth at this point because we did our ins and outs and our balancing on top. All right, so here's the key thing to look at, that chain link bolt. If I have it out past here, this will want to kick back. So we want this chain link bolt behind that picket, right like that. Once you start, it'll always behind the picket, but that first one, make sure you're behind the picket. This should fit inside the groove, looks just like that, which is not for sale just yet. It will be soon. It's still in prototype phase, but this has a 7-inch and a 6-inch, and then a 5-inch and a 4-inch reveal. So this will do 4 different reveals, just like the X-Men will. We're working on potentially putting a magnet on top of this so that it'll keep that straightaway from bumping up off of it. Can't go past the seam. So the seam or that way, it fills the void up there so that there's no rocking to this at all. This should not rock, okay? I wanna make sure you guys understand why we need a double and why it needs to be long enough by showing you what would happen if we didn't use either the buddy picket or a double picket. When we ran the rails on this fence, we also plumbed all the posts one more time this direction, and that's going to become our level for running our pickets. For those of you guys that are experienced from back nailing an entire section, you're gonna nail the whole section. For those of you guys that are new to that, I would propose you run 4 pickets and level, 4 pickets and level, 4 pickets and level, then 4 pickets and match the reveal of the post. And as you get better, you run 8 pickets, level, 8 pickets, match the reveal of the post. Okay, how do we run pickets? If you're right-handed, you run right to left. And the reason for that is, guys, is that the gun's in my right hand, I'm grabbing the picket in my left hand, and I'm never crossing the body when I nail. If I go the other direction, so if I'm starting on the left and I'm working my way to the right, what happens is I gotta grab the picket and pull it to myself. And now I got a nail and I'm crossing my body. Highly probable you're gonna shoot yourself. It's also very slow and difficult to hold that picket that way. So we're gonna go right to left and right-handed. Here like this, grab the picket, slide it in. When we bring that picket in, I like to lead with the top, hit the picket, and bump the bottom, right there. It's a high-low pattern at the top, so it's high, low, shoulder. High, low, shoulder. Main reason for that is it gives us a nice pattern on top. That's what the eyes see. It also grabs a bigger chunk of the board. So by grabbing a bigger chunk of the board, by spreading this out, we have less warping. It also looks different than our competition, right? So grab the picket, we're gonna lead it in. I'm gonna touch the top, snap the bottom, raise it up, hear a bump, raise the top. By popping that bottom, that's gonna help you from getting out of level. Gun stays on the shoulder. Move the cheater picket to the end. One more picket. The goal is the reveal right here, guys. This is the important part. This reveal, the space between the edge of this post and the edge of this picket needs to be parallel. If it's parallel, then we're level, all right? If the post is level and we match that, then we're level. So just take a step back, I'm off a little bit. How's that look now? Here, good? Once we get a push where it needs to go, nail that bottom to stay. Both hands should go in the nail gun when you back nail. If you use one hand, you have a tendency to either go up or down, but even if you don't do that, you have a good tendency, you could possibly shoot yourself. This is for those guys in practicing where you can nail the, not miss the bottom rail, right? Drop down. Ideally, that's what we're looking for, all right? For my newer guys, you probably aren't gonna be able to hit that rail the whole time, so go half a section, level it, back nail, repeat the process, all right? Once we get to here, then we can slide this down and repeat.